We live in a post-mascot platformer time in video games, but a new studio of veteran developers who shaped the genre is bringing it back. Yooka-Laylee is the spiritual successor to games like Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64, this time not beholden to any specific gaming platforms. Playtonic Games, the studio behind the new game, is filled with ex-Rare developers who are back to flex their platformer muscles. Right off the bat, no pun intended, Yooka-Laylee is cracking jokes and introducing silly characters. Yooka is a green chameleon and the character the player controls the most, while Laylee is a purple bat who sits atop her friend and has some tricks of her own. The way the game's mechanics operate is entirely reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie, from the character designs to how they run, jump, swim and fight. In fact, I would argue that Yooka-Laylee feels too much like Banjo-Kazooie. The game's hub world, Ivory Towers, works similarly to the classic Spiral Mountain. Collect pages instead of jiggies, to fill up grand tomes instead of puzzles, and unlock new worlds to progress. In each world are different sets of collectibles, but the most common that players will seek are golden quills instead of music notes that can be spent to unlock new moves. There are also 5 different coloured Ghost Riders instead of Jinjos to find about the worlds. Even the music is remarkably similar to the style of Rare's pedigree. Veteran games composer Grant Kirkhope returns to score another soundtrack of Earworms, mostly of similar instrumentation and styles of the past games mentioned. Unfortunately, while the music is still great, it does begin to feel derivative when you've heard the umpteenth marimba melody for 100 times and could swear you'd already heard it almost 20 years ago. Honestly, I could spend all day talking about the similarities between Yooka-Laylee and Rare platformers, but it doesn't take too much away from the fact that it's still really fun. There's a lot to do and play around with that it's difficult to find yourself being bored of the new Ivory Towers hub and its subsequent worlds. In fact, the game's level design is different to its predecessors. Out of the 5 worlds to play in, excluding the hub, each can be expanded upon by paying more pages after unlocking it. Expanding a world extends its scope outside of its initial more centralized spaces, and further increases the amount of collectibles and characters to discover. While the small number of levels might seem like a downside, the fact that they can be expanded upon turns that number on its head and gives you more to do. Yooka-Laylee's cast is just as ridiculous as you'd expect. The premise centers around all the books in the world being stolen by Capital B, the bad guy, in a harebrained scheme to monopolize on the book industry and make his company filthy rich. His right-hand operative, Dr. Quack, was the head of his own company that was acquired by Ivory Towers and now spends his time devising new and scientifically crooked plans for profits. Dr. Quack is a rival of Dr. Putz, whose experiment went wrong and mutated her into a half-human, half-octopus. Dr. Putz helps Yooka and Laylee by offering them the opportunity to shapeshift into new forms and complete certain tasks. Then there's Trouser, a snake who's caught in a pair of pants. He is a literal innuendo. Plus there's a myriad of other characters throughout the game. One character, Rextro, is a T-Rex who operates his own arcade and offers you the opportunity to play his games for Playcoins. These Rextro games are the only points in which Yooka-Laylee is multiplayer, and unfortunately, the experience is pretty much forgettable. Each arcade game is lackluster, and unless you're desperate to get your money's worth out of everything in Yooka-Laylee, you're better off playing something else with friends. There are some other aspects where the game falls flat. The game's camera is super janky, and there were way too many moments where I felt like I was fighting with it to look at anything useful. Plus, boss battles are often tedious, requiring super finicky maneuverability in environments that affect your movement too much, in my opinion. That said, the game itself runs really well thanks to the use of the Unity engine. Apart from a few minor hiccups here and there, Yooka-Laylee performs surprisingly well on the highest settings of my 5-year-old PC using an NVIDIA GTX 660 Ti card. While Yooka-Laylee spends perhaps too much time trying to relive the glory days, it's still approachable and fresh enough to give newcomers something to enjoy. It's still early days for the new Playtonic Games, and it's exciting to see some talent who helped define a generation are still passionate about where their roots lie. Yooka-Laylee isn't the perfect game, but it is a solid effort in bringing back the 3D platformer genre.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're checking out Guardians of the Galaxy twice over. We've seen the movie and played the first of the Telltale series, and now we want to tell you all about it. In the meantime, you can catch us at playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Also, if you want to support Player Attack, you can find us on Patreon and help us bring you the latest in gaming news, plus all of these wonderful interviews and reviews from the world of video games. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.